Let's open it back up.
Just shit my pants.
Bloodshed. Terror. Pool?
Goddamn, did you see that?
Witness the schlocky tale of the most terrifying monsters in metal.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This time I am looking at the Boogens! If you are already sick and tired of hearing that, I'm sorry, I'm going to be saying it a lot this video. The Boogens is a 1981 creature feature set in the mountains of Colorado. An old mine is reopened after 70 years of being closed, not the 100 years like every tagline for this film apparently says. Either way, opening the mine opens up our ability to meet the Boogens! I don't know why, but I actually ended up liking this film quite a bit. It gets off to a slow start, like really slow. You don't see the Boogens for like the first 70% of this film, and then when you do see them, they're pretty much gone and the film ends right after that. But besides that, I like this film a lot. Had this film been more over the top and maybe up front more early with all the creatures and all the crazy stuff it gets into by the end, maybe it could have ended up a little bit better. For a $600,000 budget, it did make a respectable $3 million at the box office, so you know what, good on them. However, this film was made just a few years later. They actually might have been able to, bank off of that Gremlins appeal more and actually get a wider range of an audience. However, that did not stop Stephen King from watching this film and giving it a positive review, calling it a wildly energetic monster movie. This film was directed by James L. Conway, who went on to have a pretty decent run on some TV shows, which included being a producer on Charmed. So if you're a person who likes cozy winter towns, old foreboding men, and slimy creatures, you may find yourself enjoying your trip to Silver City. The movie begins with a whole lot of old-timey newspapers. Seriously, the whole trope of newspaper headlines revealing parts of the story is all over this intro. We learn of how Silver City was hit with their own gold rush, or I guess silver rush, in the late 1800s. Many came to town because, silver! But all that came to an end when a few mines collapsed, some miners were trapped, and apparently attacked in the mines. But I'm sure that has nothing to do with this story. By the way, when I got into this film, I actually found a version of it on YouTube that was free and watched it, and the quality was really bad on it. Like, seriously, it was not very good. And also, if you have headphones on right now, this is actually what the audio sounds like.
These little surprises for me. I know what your blind dates are like.
Of course, though, this film actually did have a Blu-ray that came out earlier this year, I believe in January, so it actually has a higher quality footage. And if you're someone who thinks, it can't look that much better, well, here's a side-by-side image of what that video looked like and what it looks like. So yeah, with some signature Ken Burns flair, we transition to modern day. Exploring these mines are four dudes. From the mining company, I guess? I actually looked up the price of silver in the early 80s, like every good silver enthusiast does, and I found that at the beginning of 1980, silver was worth over $144 per ounce. The current price is under $28. So I don't know if you know inflation or have ever heard of that, but if that was to play a factor in this, that price would have been $582 today. So, okay, I get why they're doing this. For those interested, the spike had to do with the Hunt brothers buying up all the silver apparently, leading to a scarce supply for everyone else. See, this is now an educational channel. Back to the film, the younger ones are Mark and Roger. The older men are Dan and Brian, and they are leading this group to reopen this mine. And they have one simple rule.
No fucking around.
You got that, Roger?
Oh, yes, sir!
Roger just makes me think of John Ritter if he never made it on Three's Company and became a miner in Colorado. He is also apparently a sex maniac.
Sex maniac.
Total sex maniac.
Sex maniac. It's been 11 days, 7 hours since I last got laid.
They enter the cave and check out the structure. More education for you, because again, this is an education channel now. But if you were curious about becoming a mine foreman, like of course everyone is, right? You can make up to $81,000 a year nowadays for that. However, something tells me that these boys were not making that much. We get some shots of the landscape here, and I gotta be honest, I dig it a lot. It's a landscape that's always fun to see in film when you see the snowy environment. It really makes me think of something like Fargo, But, instead of being Fargo, it's the Boogens. I don't know how else to explain it. But you know what this has that Fargo doesn't have? sex maniacs.
She's got perfect breasts.
They set up some dynamite in the cave, and after blowing it up, we get one of the best moments where some random old dude is there for some reason just watching them as we slowly push on his face. Like really pushing in on him. Holy shit, okay, calm down, we get it. Later that night, this girl is driving in the snow when a deer pops up.
Oh my god!
I love that reaction.
Oh my god!
This is Martha Chapman, played by Marcia Dangerfield. She was in Footloose, and oh hey, look at that, bats! She was the mayor in that film. I don't think I ever mentioned her in that film because she really didn't do anything, but she was in that film and I covered it. By the way, you can go watch Bats right now if you click on the top corner, just saying, if you want to go watch it. Okay, that would be very nice. Thank you! She was in a relationship with Charles Sellier, who was a producer of this movie. He also directed Silent Night, Deadly Night, a Santa slasher movie with a sequel that produced the greatest line ever.
Garbage day. Huh? No.
Martha is heading up to this house to set up for Roger and Mark and two other girls that we haven't met yet. And oh hey, look, that old man is back. What up, dude? Oh, just spying on this woman alone in this house. Okay, that's great. She goes into the basement where she thinks she hears something, but of course there's nothing there. Apparently the only thing that is here is every time she turns on a light, this funky 80s sound effect plays. However, it turns out there was something down there in that basement, and it comes and gets her, and just slowly drags her into the basement, like really slowly. Now hold that all in your brain for a bit, because we gotta go back to the mines. The boys find a path that isn't on the maps, so they go to investigate and find a pretty dope swimming spot, and stumble upon a human skull, I believe, right? Is that a human skull?
That looks human.
Yes, it does. Now at this point, this seems pretty creepy to find human remains. They assume it's the miners from 70 years ago, which understandably makes sense, but I mean, look at how clean that skull is. Like, that looks pretty fresh, like someone might have just died or, you know, something happened to it. Also, they later point out how it's kind of weird that all the bodies are stacked in one spot, almost as if, I don't know, a creature trapped them in here and ate them all or something like that. You know, maybe, something like that, but why would that ever happen? There's no way that would have been a thing. We meet the two girls, Jessica and Trish, who we've heard a ton about in this film. Seriously, Roger could not stop talking about it.
Perfect breasts.
They drive this buggy, which is probably not a great car with all the snow, but the greatest thing when I was watching this was that all I saw on their car, especially in like the shitty low-res version of this movie, was that I didn't see like any luggage in their car, and I just saw two skis, or you know, the whatever you would have on your legs when you're skiing down a mountain. That's like all they had on their car. I'm like, you know what, I guess that's all you need if you're gonna move out to, you know, a place that's just filled with snow. I mean, you know what, I dig it. And also, Jessica is wearing a cowboy hat, so she's cool. Though we never exactly learn where these characters come from, I have a feeling Jessica is Canadian.
Sorry, Jesus, I'm sorry.
Jessica's actress Anne-Marie Martin had a pretty solid acting career, but what was crazy to find is that she was married to Michael Crichton, you know, writer of Jurassic Park, and she apparently co-wrote Twisters with him. So if you recently watched Twisters, you might have seen her name. I'm telling you, man, Boogens is all over Hollywood. We also learned that Jessica is in a relationship with Roger. Yes, Roger gets to be with this girl. I hate it here. Though the more we get to learn about Jessica, it actually makes sense.
Testing for stability?
It's been 12 days. Need I say more?
It's been 11 days, 7 hours since I last got laid.
Go ahead, get it all out. I don't think I'll be seeing you much in the next 3 days.
Trish realizes that there's no hot water and goes to the basement to get the hot water heater humming. But there's something down there. Is that a boo? Damn it, it's just the dog. Back at the mines, Roger is told he will have to go to Denver that night to get some mining maps. He doesn't want to because, you know, he's gonna have crazy sex tonight.
Hey, kid. Don't work too hard.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, these guys seem like a fun time. This is really the only thing that makes the first, I don't know, 60-70% of this film somewhat watchable, is that all the characters are actually genuinely interesting to watch. They're not just mean-spirited characters. Trust me, being someone who grew up in the 2000s with all the 2000s horror movies that were coming out, this is actually kind of a, you know, a fun sight to see. No matter how realistic or not it is that Roger gets to be with Jessica. I'm sorry, I just can't let that go. Especially when Roger starts calling himself Hormone Man and gives himself a very lengthy backstory.
You dare question the virility of Hormone Man? Why, it's Hormone Man! Able to lead tall women who were lightly bound! Hormone Man! Oh, fighting for Ruth and Luscious and Ellie Mae! Hormone Man!
They drive by that old man, who they clearly should have seen, and then... Oh my god, is she getting stabbed right now? No, I guess she was being tickled? It alerts Trish, who comes out of the shower and showing Mark some of that Trish butt. Not exactly a great way to first meet each other, but hey, have to start somewhere. Trish's actress Rebecca Baldwin went on to do plenty of bit parts in TV shows, with a decent run as Aunt Jackie in, oh hey, look at that, Charmed. Apparently everyone from Boogens worked on Charmed. But it does make sense because she was married to director James L. Conway, but sadly she passed away in 2022 from ovarian cancer. After that awkward first encounter, they hit it off in the kitchen. We learned that Mark and Roger are engineers and they didn't like the idea of being in suits all day, buddying up with other suits, because that's, you know, all engineers do. They wear suits and talk to other suits and, you know, they just wear suits. So he and Roger came out here to work on the mines to get away from it all. And I'm sure that Trish and Jessica are very happy about that. Also, it turns out that Trish and Jessica are journalists. This is literally not that important to the story, but it's some motivation for what Trish does later, so that's, yeah, they're journalists, good for them. The moment ends when a police officer shows up looking for Martha, who is probably still getting dragged down those steps right now. You could probably find her. We met this officer in an earlier scene, which really is not important at all, but the only reason I mention is because that producer Charles Sellier, who I mentioned, was a volunteer deputy for the county that they filmed this in, and they used his vehicle and outfit, which I believe was actually in the scene. Of course, our characters were not there to witness that, so they did not know that Martha never made it here. Earlier though, Martha did make a call to her husband from this house, then disappeared between then and now, but apparently that does not make any of the people who are at this house a suspect. The officer goes to leave, accidentally letting the dog out.
Hush, I'll get him.
No! It's okay. We let him play outside all the time.
There's a running gag in this film that this dog is a troublemaker and they all hate him. But hey, who could hate such a good boy that will definitely not die? Later that night, they meet up with Dan and Brian at a bar, where Jessica is apparently the greatest pool player of all time.
You impressed?
Impressed? Pissed. I just got my ass kicked.
Trish and Mark move into a pretty tight relationship after meeting for the first time just a few hours ago, and they talk about that mine closing 70 years ago, like all first dates do. Intrigued, Trish decides that she will investigate this because, you know, she's a journalist. Roger heads home to get some sleep before going to Denver, because remember, he's got to get those mining maps or something. He also talks like he's married to a famous golfer in 2009.
Tiger, you little shit! Tiger? This is it, Tiger. All right, Tiger, you just blew it. You just better stay hidden, that's all I can say, you little putz.
He can't sleep, so he decides to leave right now. He goes out to his garage, and oh, there's something under his car. Is that a Boogen? He just grabbed his leg. Roger, he probably just wants to wrestle. Okay, Boogen, now put him in a headlock. Oh shit, too tight, Boogen. Up to this point, outside of the mild language and nudity, this film felt more like something you would see midday on the Lifetime network or something, more than an actual R-rated horror film. Then it just ramps it up to 100 with this scene. I also like how Roger got his foot wrapped so tight that he was bleeding, probably broke it, and instead of running away or, you know, trying to do something, he's just kind of like, oh, I wonder what's under the car. However, this moment is very tragic because Roger will never have sex again.
Hormone Man!
And Jessica is now single. Wait, is this tragic? The next day, Trish decides to investigate the story from the newspaper at the beginning of the film, because remember, she's a journalist. And she drops some very heavy exposition on us.
It's been suggested by some that it was actually miner Harold Griswold who caused the tragedy and was returned to the hospital for further mental evaluation.
And many say he went on to have very good vacations with his family. At the house, Jessica realizes Roger never left and could be in danger, so she takes a shower. The Boogens finally had enough of this damn dog, so they get him. And you know what? He might be alive. We never see Tiger again after this scene, and sure, his fur is all over that vent cover that they definitely ripped his body through. He is not dead, okay? Also, the sound that the Boogen makes in this film is pretty creepy and especially very off-putting the first time you hear it. To create the roar of the monster, sound supervisor Jeffrey Sandler, which I don't think has any relation to Adam, asked his son Robert Sandler to come up with something scary. The monster's roar was a dog and a cat fight played backwards and slowed down. To test its effectiveness, they actually set up a bunch of speakers at the end of 4 long hallways, and when Jeffrey and Robert played the sound effect out loud, they were so scared that they did not want to walk down the hall that was playing the sound. That's how scary it was. Sound design sounds pretty fun. Jessica gets out of the shower and sees a giant vent, so she checks it out, and she gets boogened! She's able to free herself and stumbles down the hall while this Boogen just slowly chases her. Seriously, these things either move 40 miles an hour or are like crawling everywhere. There's like no in between. Instead of running out of the house to safety, she decides to go into the closet. To be fair, she doesn't have any clothes on. But also to be fair, she is being chased by a Boogen! The pool champ screams for her life, but this Boogen ain't tickling her, cause it kills her. Back at the caves, Dan keeps hearing something in the water. It could be a Boogen. It could also be the fact that his hard earnings and life obsession with pool were squashed last night. You know, one or the other. He just dives in the water and turns out that it's Roger's mangled body, or face at least. Before they can leave, the old man shows up. Hey, remember him? He is the son of Harold Griswold, the miner who survived and apparently has been overlooking this mine to make sure that the Boogens never get out. He warned them earlier by putting up some crosses outside the mine, but you know what, dude? Maybe you should have done a little bit more than just stare into the distance and spy on women. The recent activity has opened up the mines for the Boogens to roam free, and apparently all these mines are just connected to every house in town, like, you know, every mine in the world. Mark discovered one of these entrances earlier in the basement, which, yeah, is pretty damn obvious. And also, why is it that big to enter a cave? And also, why is that not boarded up? I mean, I guess they attempted. They put like 3 boards on it, but like, come on. This is also the one time that the title of the film is dropped. He also does a crap job at not just protecting the mine, but protecting these people, as Dan is killed in the water. The old man just gets boogened as well. He just gets his body just dragged into the water, like literally just ragdolling as he goes in. Mark saw all of this, and being a logical man, he just dipped out. At home, Trish discovers Jessica's body, and she's about to be boogened when Mark and that cop from earlier show up. And we finally get a look at the Boogen, which, wow. This is the first full look we get at the Boogen in the film, and there is less than 10 minutes in the film. I am not kidding. The officer doesn't care though, as he just shoots that Boogen in the face. But you know what? That officer thinks that the Boogens are just cute and cuddly creatures and just wants to give it a hug. Okay, Boogen, give him a hug. Damn it, Boogen, not again! He just rips into this officer's face before Mark puts it down with a pitchfork. Gas starts leaking from the furnace and catches the stairs on fire. Like literally just the stairs. This forces Mark and Trish to exit out through that mine entrance. Then the whole house just burns down and collapses in on itself. They run through the mines, almost being boogened multiple times before they run into Brian, who's still alive. He tells them to get some dynamite and seal this mine shut. As for him, well, he might be able to pull through. I mean, he looks a little stunned. But you know what? You guys can help him out. Oh nope, the Boogen just lifted him up and killed him. Mark and Trish run for the exit with some very weird tracking shots, and they are able to light the dynamite and blow it up as soon as they get out. So with their friends dead, Mark probably unemployed now, also both of them being linked to the house that burned down with the remains of the homeowner and a police officer inside, and probably every other exit the Boogens can still escape out of, they decide to deal with that later as the movie ends. And that is the Boogens! This niche little film is a fun time for those wanting to watch more obscure horror films, which this is pretty damn obscure. I've mentioned before, this film is free to watch on YouTube. Just to be fair though, make sure you watch the high quality version, not the whatever version I watched before, okay? Just a fair warning to you all. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you like this, leave a like, and if you want to subscribe, you can, but you know, don't feel obligated to, but you know, you kind of should. Oh, and by the way, try not to get Thank you.